Greetings, YouTube. Today I'll be looking at a product for the HARP system called Loot. Be up front, I received this as a review copy for free, so just in case you know that. It is authored by Jonathan Casey, and I'll be using the table of contents as some show notes here because it's just profoundly helpful. We have your editor's note introduction, which is, every game gets to have one of those. Let's face it, if you're going to go to the trouble of writing a gaming book, you should have a little soapbox you can stand on and talk about it. Then we have chapter 2, which is loot law. Now, I don't know if your folks are familiar with HARP, but everything is a law in HARP. There's, spell law and, things like that. Every school of thought or rules set has a law function to it, which is fine. It's just a thing that HARP does. I've never really seen it anywhere else. Now, HARP is the only system of fantasy that I would run with beyond something in the D20 school of thought. HARP would be my second place because I think HARP is very solid. I think they've done an excellent job with the game. I think it's very approachable. It's a solid system, and my review of it is the reason that Mr. Casey sent this to me. Actually, I don't know if it's Mr. Casey. Someone from HARP sent it to me. I apologize if I got the name wrong. Now, this chapter 2, the loot law, is something I found very interesting. It's the principles of loot and value. So they're really taking a philosophical view here of what value is, which I thought was interesting and refreshing. Because what I value, it isn't necessarily a thing. I'm surrounded by books. Now, the books themselves are things, and they can be valuable in and of themselves. Some of my gaming books are worth something. Okay? I've sold gaming books that are worth something. I've made a profit on them. But the contents of the book are also a value in and of themselves. A song can be a value. The formula for something can be a value. A plan can have value. Of course, the treasure map can have value. Well, potential value. So value isn't something which is always a concrete thing. It is much more ephemeral. And this chapter actually addresses that. Then it talks about looking for loot, loot and your character, loot and professions, loot and race, loot and culture. How each of these different categories approaches the concept of loot and its acquisition and how they think about loot. So this chapter is very interesting to me because I've never seen something that discussed a loot topic from that philosophical point of view. So kudos on Mr. Casey. Then we have loot in the wilderness, getting ahead in the wide open country, organic placement of loot, so putting loot in places that make sense. There's Gygax had a horrible thing of sticking loot in the most obscure and absurd places, like in a wall sconce. There'd be something hidden in a wall sconce with a torch. Take a torch out. Hey, look, there's something in there. Why is something in there? It made no sense. So Mr. Casey's talking about the idea of logically placing loot in a wilderness environment. Say something just collects people. It kills the people, and their loot falls out in its nest or its lair, so there's things lying around. It collects shiny stuff. So things that are shiny, it may collect, whereas it could be completely overlooking something which is dull but very valuable, say a magic cloak. It doesn't care. He cares about the shiny thing. So it makes sense that certain types of things are found in certain kinds of layers and environments in the wilderness. Of course, things like bandits and stuff could have anything. Then a nice little section on loot and wilderness creature, giving you specific creatures and the types of loot those specific creatures might have. And that's very helpful because even if you don't use those specific creatures, it gets you thinking along that lines as a model. So now you have this idea of a model in your head, which you then can apply to similar creatures. And of course, once you get into that habit, you can get further and further away. So you start to be able to apply that model on a larger scope. You go from specific to general. Very helpful. Then we have 2 specific ruins where you can find loot, which is also nice. So, and they're called the ruins of Ashtclair and the Underkeep of Hyrex. They like apostrophes. And you, of course, can scrape off the serial numbers for that and call them anything you want to, and just use the idea or the loot itself anywhere. So, again, a template which you can use that can apply to other places, gives you some practice, and that's always good. Then we have loot in the big city, urban environments, human city profiles, dwarven cities, elven cities, gnome cities, Grix cities, and halfling cities, and scoring some loot. So it's a nice little chapter, like 6 or 7 pages long, which is all about how loot factors into your urban environment, which is in many ways a much more natural place to find a lot of things that we think of as loot. Um, then we get into fabrication and materials. Now, I have no idea if Mr. Casey intended this, but this chapter right here is almost purely system neutral. There's almost nothing in this that is specific to HARP. And it is a wonderful list of plants, animal parts, and minerals and things like that, and their magical properties that can be used in creating magic items. Out of a 128-page document, to me, this chapter makes this product worth buying all by its lonesome. Because even if you don't use it directly, again, gets you thinking, gives you lots of ideas of how to apply that idea to other templates. So you're like, oh, okay, this monster has this. Okay, that made me think I've got a monster in my game that's not like this, but it's known for traits X, Y, and Z. So if you took its claws, that would be tied into trait X. Bingo. So I like that. The plants are also good in the minerals because these are mostly real world items. There are some exotic stuff in there as well. The esoteric materials, as he's called them. Then we get into chapters which deal with specific HARP rules for creations of magic items. We have potions, we have runes rather, sorry. I talked about runes elsewhere. Crafting talismans, enchanting items, and intelligent loot. Now these are much more geared towards the specific HARP rules, but they also lay down kind of a checklist. Okay, you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. This is how each one of these steps goes, and that still could be applied to other stuff. Because, for example, back in first edition, we had almost no magic creation rules. This kind of thing would have been very helpful to get a person thinking about how can I create my own that would work. Because the game, creating magic items back then, it was a nightmare in my opinion. It was just so squishy. Then we get into Now What, which deals with 3 schools of thought on magical creations and mistakes. And yes, there are charts here, folks. This is a HARP product. It would not be a HARP product if it didn't have charts. And one of them is if you roll 100 in creating a magic item, whoops, you've opened a gate to a demonic realm and a type 4 demon steps through. Have fun, which is actually what it says. Consistency is wonderful. Then we discuss stuff about actual money, jewels, mundane items, and then lists of magic items that could be in a loot collection. I've used many random lists and generator systems over the years. Some I've found online, some I've found on pen and paper. And since this is tied right into this product, it's really helpful for you to have it at hand. Even if you don't necessarily have a specific one you like, having one right there within the whole product makes perfect sense. And then we have an index. So table of contents and an index. Okay, so we have the first graphic in this product, and this one made me smile so much, is Nodwick the Henchman loaded down with loot. Beautiful choice. The rest of the art in the book varies from adequate gaming illustrations to really quite good stuff. There's some stuff in here that has kind of a sketchy, almost technical drawing vibe to it, which I really happen to like. Some of the item pictures are like that. I really like that. Probably because I used to sketch weapons myself, so I appreciate that style of art for the person that accomplished these drawings. Just far more better, far more skilled than I am. So I really liked this product. I'm glad I had a chance to see it. I didn't know about it. The guy just contacted me out of the blue and said, would I be interested? And I said, yes, I would. Again, for that one chapter, which to my mind is almost completely system neutral, I think this product is going to be worth anyone's read. And if you will play HARP, definitely, this is something you're going to want, whether you're a GM or a player. So does HARP call them GMs? I can't remember. Some games have specific names. Lore masters and what have you, you get the point. So I liked it, and I'm glad I got to look at it. I'm glad I'm having a chance to review it. This is something that I think that all kinds of gamers of the fantasy genre are going to like, and for the folks that like the OSR style games, I still think this is applicable because the OSR has squishier, more flexible, malleable rule structure. The things they discuss here could be squeezed into an OSR system much more easily than you could put it into something that's a little more rigid, like 3.5 or Pathfinder. Um, so that may be something you want to look at if you don't have a set of magic rules already for your OSR. This might be something you want to use and take a look at. I really love when I can not only find a product that supports a gaming system, but can be moved and pushed around to help support other gaming systems. And what I found it's really surprising, sometimes the authors don't seem to notice they're doing this, which always makes me smile. I can understand that. Sometimes you're doing your thing, you're not necessarily thinking outside that box because you're really striving to do that thing. Perfectly natural. I've done it myself. So go folks. If you out there get Loot, if you are a HARP fan, this is a must buy.